We have serious breaking news right now. ABC News has now suspended one of its senior reporters for attacking Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, after Caroline Leavitt and the White House personally reached out to ABC News to try to get them to take disciplinary action. In a now deleted tweet, Terry Moran, who was a senior ABC News reporter, said the thing about Stephen Miller is not that he has the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement and translates them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller. It's not brains, it's bio. Miller is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. It goes on, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt freaked out about this, personally reached out to ABC News to try to get disciplinary action taken, and now ABC News has suspended its reporter for speaking. Now, ABC News says that it needs to keep some sort of objectivity, but this really just feels like another attempt at the White House trying to silence or intimidate the free press, and the free press capitulating.
Well, ABC is going to have to answer for what their, again, so-called journalist put out on Twitter in the wee hours of the night, calling Stephen Miller vile. They said that President Trump is a world-class hater. And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist. This is unacceptable and unhinged rhetoric coming from someone who works at a major television network. We have reached out to ABC. They have said they will be taking action, so we will see what they do. But I think this speaks to the distrust that the American public have in the legacy media. And it's why in the White House press shop and in President Trump's White House, we have made so many significant and much needed changes to press access and transparency at the White House. We've invited in new media. We have shaken up the White House press pool. And we also just won a major victory over the Associated Press, who thought that they had a constitutional right to walk into the Oval Office or to fly on Air Force One, and a judge said no. In fact, those are privileged spaces that belong to the President of the United States, and this is a great ruling for democracy. We fought them in court, and we won, and so we will continue to keep or hold journalists accountable. All we're asking for is truth and transparency.
ABC, you piece of shit. And when I say ABC, let it be clear, it's the network. You piece of shit. You let Caroline Leavitt and Donald Trump dictate how you were going to treat your own correspondents, your own employees. What about the free press? What about freedom of speech? No one is going to take you seriously, because what Donald Trump did was, first, he discredited you by calling you fake news, and then after that, he bent you over and made you his bitch.
I think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency.
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across the stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
He was only here because his grandparents escaped a pogrom in Belarus in 1903 and came to America as immigrants because he's Jewish. In 2002, he gave a speech to his Santa Monica high school class saying, "Am I the only one who was sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash when we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for us?" He claimed he was being like Colbert-style satire, but when you hear about everything else that he did, it really doesn't sound like that. When he was 16, he wrote an op-ed in the local newspaper about the rampant political correctness that had consumed the high school and the district, lamenting that a number of classmates lacked basic English skills and that there were very few, if any, Latino students in honors classes. That's Latinx to you, Stephen, who's part of a California state government club. People said at this mock city council election, he was really, really obsessed with winning, and he would use dirty tricks at the mock city council election. But when he was voted out, he threw a tantrum and flipped over a table, Teresa Giudice style, screaming, "You can't do this to me!"
Again, deal with your daddy issues.
Do you want to know what his yearbook quote was?
Oh God, do I?
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for
If you hate Stephen Miller as much as I do, you have to see this reporter completely humiliate him today outside the White House. Trust me, watch till the end.
You guys ran on targeting violent criminals, worst of the worst. Is it the best use of the administration's resources to be going after moms of young kids, basically?
Do you yourself have an opinion on this subject?
I'm more interested in yours.
Let's say that Biden released, I think it's closer to 20. Let's say he released 10 million legal aliens into the country over the last 4 years. What percentage do you think we should let stay here of those 10 million?
I'm not trying to do a game show.
No, but I'm saying,
I'm just curious if you think that's the best use of your limited dollars.
Is it your view that if a Democrat president releases 10, 15, 20 million illegals into the country, they all then should get to stay forever and for all of life?
Stephen, I don't have a view about what Democratic presidents do. I'm asking what the Republican president you work for and how he wants to use
you don't want to
his
answer the
resources.
question.
I want to buy that reporter a drink.
Miller met his future wife, Katie Waldman, in 2017. He and Waldman have a lot in common. They're both Jewish and both have lawyers for fathers. Waldman has been described by her peers, like Miller, as being an all-around terrible person. They say she was always stuck up and inexplicably contemptuous of non-whites. One classmate said, "The only thing she loves or values in this world is power. Anything she attaches to in her life is simply a pawn to feed her addiction to it." Another classmate said, "I genuinely believe there's something wrong with her. She lacks a moral compass and demonstrates elements of a sociopath." Waldman became the spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, where she defended Miller's policies by repeating his talking points to the press. She enjoyed seeing the suffering at the border and documented it on Instagram. "Living my best life at the border wall," is how she captioned one photo with a wide grin. She told journalist Jacob Soboroff that, quote, "DHS sent me to the border to see the separations for myself, to try to make me more compassionate, but it didn't work." They got married in February of 2020 and now have 3 children.
Stephen Miller is back in the news, this time on live TV, railing against Elon Musk after Elon Musk took his wife. Elon Musk did something online that proves that this story is very much so real. I have that for you in just a minute. And I also have right now that ICE has been conducting raids in Los Angeles. These are raids that are at the behest of Stephen Miller, who has, according to Vanity Fair, has said that Donald Trump's mass deportation effort has been lagging behind his goal. His vice president, J.D. Vance, at one point forecast 1 million deportations a year this term. The administration hasn't only been well behind that lofty number. They struggled to keep pace with the removals last year when Joe Biden was still president, and have called on migrants to self-deport to help boost their stats. So Stephen Miller is failing at the one thing he wanted to do. The evil deportations that he's been trying to enact have actually not been able to happen because the Trump administration, though they are fascist to a core, they're also very incompetent. And in order to make fascism happen, you kind of need to have some competence. It goes on to say in Vanity Fair, he has demanded recently that Immigration and Customs Enforcement makes no fewer than 3,000 arrests a day. And we're seeing that happen in real time as Stephen Miller is railing against Elon Musk because Elon Musk took Stephen Miller's wife. Stephen Miller is taking out in the rest of the world in the country. And yesterday, there were raids in Los Angeles. Here's a bit about that. Hundreds of protesters rallied in downtown Los Angeles late Friday afternoon, condemning the ICE immigration raids that took place at 3 different locations across LA earlier in the day. The protests did remain pretty much peaceful. I had really shocking footage of ICE running over a protester who was trying to stop an illegal arrest.
Some sort of smoke to help try and keep those people from the gate here. Okay, so here we are. We're in the middle of the street here. Now you can see one person trying to stand right in front of this SUV here, but it's just such a dangerous situation here, and it's really not going to do him any good to be standing there and possibly get ran over by agents. So here they are. They're on 9th Street now. Crowd is running alongside with these vehicles, and I pretty much guarantee that this SUV is not going to stop. Someone throwing. Looks like wow. All right, let me widen out here. Okay, so we saw some eggs being thrown at the vehicle. Now he is just, partly ran over by that SUV.
Oh, we can see that person getting up.
Oh, it looks like a bicycle was also struck in the crosswalk here. So just a dangerous situation. It doesn't.
I have to say, I'm so sorry that happened to that protester, but I loved hearing that reporter saying that they were throwing eggs at the truck. This is exactly what we should be doing, and I think it's despicable that MAGA was laughing about it. They said LMAO, a left-wing protester, tried to block an ICE SUV transporting illegals and got ran over in the process. And as someone else said, "You are cheering on the United States government running over a U.S. citizen. How pathetic are you?" Pathetic. I am happy to be on the side of the people who are defending those who cannot defend themselves. And history has shown that when you defend people who can't defend themselves, you are more times than not on the right side of history. We are on the right side of history with this sort of stuff. And this is not normal, what is happening. It's not normal what is happening. And it's only because Stephen Miller is a crazy person, and it's only going to be intensified because Stephen Miller has now personal interrelational dramas that the New York Times and CNN are both reporting on. Here is Stephen Miller raging on Fox News at Elon, as Aaron Rupar says here, tough scenes for Katie, because this is Katie Miller's husband going after her boss, who she left him to work for.
Access. I've never in my life, as a Republican, seen an easier question than whether or not to vote for this bill. It's everything conservatives have said they've always wanted.
Yes, absolutely. And in your tweets and memos also, I want to get you to make this point because it's so important. This is not an appropriations bill. This is not a general budget bill. This is a special reconciliation bill.
Yes.
You can't. It fences off. You're really only dealing with entitlements and taxes, basically.
Correct. There's this myth out there that we could do the Doge cuts in this bill. There's a separate process for that.
So Stephen Miller here is never going to mention Elon Musk by name, but Stephen Miller is very much so talking about Elon Musk, and this is all directed towards him. So keep that in mind. When he's saying Doge cuts, that is who? Elon Musk.
This vote is leading it.
That's right.
It's called rescissions. And I know it's wonky to talk about reconciliation versus rescissions, but those are the Senate budget rules that we have to live by if we want to pass a bill with 50 votes and not 60. But what we do have, again, is the largest welfare reform in history, in dollar value, by attaching those work requirements to Medicaid and food stamps.
Sure, no, because it's a mandatory program, and therefore
it's mandatory, not discretionary.
I don't think Elon understood that. I don't want to get into all that stuff. I just don't think he ever really understood the difference.
I don't want to get into all of that stuff. Wink, wink. And look at Stephen Miller laughing his ass off because he's like, oh, hell.
Between reconciliation. You're going to come back. Look, I've had a bunch of senators come on. You'll come many times to the well. You'll come take more.
And this, by the way, this is such a side note, but I'm going to point this out. Stephen Miller and I are the same age. We're the same age.
What?
Do what you will with that information. I can't believe we're the same age. I actually think he might be a year younger than me. Here's how I want to say about this is I just hope they both lose. I don't care who comes out on top. In fact, I hope neither of them come up on top, but I just hope that they continue fighting each other. Now, CNN is reporting that everyone is talking about this in the White House. Everyone is talking about it. And the New York Times, when writing about this, talked to a divorce coach in Miami that said breakups, even in business or platonic relationships like the one between Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk, can have ancillary effects on others in their orbit, whether they like it or not. Usually people want to stay away from it. They don't want to deal with the drama, Mr. Garcia said, adding that, quote, they feel like they're pigeonholed to pick a side, and overwhelmingly, the way it works is that the person that does the louder speaking is where they go. And so I just want to remind you all, too, that this is not the first time we've been through this. Do you remember George Conway and Kellyanne Conway? I mean, this was Donald Trump breaking up a relationship, but they did eventually get divorced in 2023. And now we have Stephen Miller and Katie Miller. Katie Miller leaving to go work with Elon Musk. And you tell me if you think that this is going to end up any other way than the way that we think it will. And I'm just going to be sitting here and watching it all as it happens. I will say that one thing that has happened in the past 24 hours is that Trump said, I just wish him well, to Elon Musk. Elon Musk said likewise. And then Elon Musk deleted a series of tweets where he asked why should he apologize, and then he would apologize when the Epstein files came out. And he also deleted that original tweet that was the bomb about how Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. So this thing is still simmering. I feel like they're probably going to try to make nice. We'll see. I don't think a drug addict and a sociopath can make nice for long. This administration is incompetent. And if they're dealing with interpersonal drama, as that report showed, they're not able to enact the awful policies they want to enact. So let them fight. I hope both teams lose.